Welcome to Total Retail Talks, your podcast channel for retail knowledge.
Hello, and welcome to episode 126 of Total Retail Talks. I'm Joe Keenan, Executive Editor of Total Retail. I'm joined today by Fan Bai, founder and CEO of Blank Label, a retailer of men's custom dress shirts and tailored suits. We're going to be discussing how formerly online-only Blank Label has successfully transitioned into brick-and-mortar retail and what that means for the future of the business. Thanks for joining me, Fan.
Joe, really excited to be here. Thanks for having us.
So I think it'd be a good idea to start to have you tell our audience a little bit about Blank Label.
Yeah, absolutely. So like you mentioned in the intro, Blank Label, we started online only 2009. Today we have 6 stores across the country, 2 in Boston, which is where we're based, 1 in D.C., Chicago, Atlanta, and Denver. And Brick-and-Mortar is actually the majority of our revenue now. We are a custom men's clothing brand, so custom suits, dress shirts, mostly workwear.
So maybe let's talk a little bit about the timeline. So you mentioned online only, the start. When was the company founded, by the way, Fan?
2009.
Okay. So started online 2009. When did you decide to open up your first brick and mortar store? And second part of that question is why? What was the thought process behind moving into brick and mortar?
Sure. So we opened our first brick-and-mortar location in Boston in 2013. We'd done a couple of trunk shows or pop-ups leading up to that, so across 2012. And it was we'd always been big on getting customer feedback. So even when we launched online in 2009, 2010, we were doing live chat, doing a lot of one-on-one emails, just trying to understand why our customer was coming to us, what value we could provide. But doing trunk shows and pop-ups, it really took that to the next level, being able to have kind of in-person conversations. And one of the things that kept coming up was we'd go to a pop-up and someone would come by and say, oh, this looks really interesting, tell me about it. Oh, actually, I don't have time to get measured right now, but I'd love to come to the store. And we'd say, great, Joe, the store's online, blanklabel.com. The store's online, but I don't know my measurements. And we just kept on hearing this over and over again, and eventually people just kept on asking, where's the store, and we needed to give them an answer.
Yeah, and I would imagine with the product category you're in, even lends itself even more to being the need for a physical presence where people want to come in with apparel. They want to try it on. They want to look at it. They want to feel it in person. Was that the case as well?
Absolutely. So there are a couple of different attributes. I'd say one is there are a lot of direct-to-consumer online brands that have started in the last 5 to 10 years. But one of the challenges is if you're in the premium price point, it's easy to buy a widget on Amazon for $20 because it's not expensive. But if you're buying a custom garment that's $100 for a dress shirt, $750 for a suit, that makes the conversion much more challenging being .com only. So that's part one, the expense. Part two is custom is fairly technical. Most of our customers have never done custom before. So again, kind of back to that, they don't know their measurements. They want to deal with a professional. So both those factors make brick and mortar work for us. Yeah,
and you mentioned now 6 stores. I'm curious about some of the, how you've gone about choosing the markets you're in. You mentioned Boston, that's your home base. Denver, D.C., Chicago. What's kind of the process that goes into choosing where you're going to open your stores?
Yeah, that's a great question. So because we've been an .com brand for over 7 years now, we have and that, just to mention, never closed in 2013. We obviously kept growing the e-commerce business. And so we've got a good amount of data in terms of where our customers are spread throughout the country, in fact, even spread throughout the world. And that is a leading indicator for us in terms of where to open next. So that's kind of number one. Number two, we look at the competitive landscape. So most people ask us, why are you not in New York, where it's such an obvious market for us? But it's hyper competitive. And then the third factor is actually we're still an upstart brand. There are a lot of natural challenges to being an upstart brand. And so the third factor is is there anywhere our existing team members want to relocate and be a store lead? just to bring in that that experience, that know-how of what a blank label brand is, what a blank label experience is. So they're the three factors that we that help decide what cities we go into.
Yeah. So this has sort of been a trend that we've seen, and kind of it's an almost reverse omni-channel, so to speak, kind of clicks to bricks, starting online, then opening brick and mortar. And Blank Label is just one example. There's others, Bonobos, Warby Parker, Casper, some other really successful brands that have started online. Can you talk about why you think some of these online native brands have found success transitioning into that more of an omni-channel approach?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the simple answer is conversion. For the early adopters, they're willing to go to the .com and try it out, and are familiar with a simple returns process. But once you get to the wider part of the market, I think most people are still used to shopping, especially in apparel, in the real world. And so they're just going, I think all of us are just going where the market is. And if we want to become large national mainstay brands, we just have to do that. And most people are more likely to convert, especially at that higher price point, especially if the product category has any amount of technicality, which it does in Warby Parker. It even does to a certain extent with Casper in terms of the different product innovations they've added. That conversion is easier to do in person.
Yeah, so we're operating, and this is no secret to anyone, to you or to any of our listeners, that we're operating at a time when traditional brick and mortar retailers are struggling, they're challenged, and in many cases they're closing stores. So what is Blank Label doing? What's kind of the in-store experience like that it's working for your customers? What are you doing to get those customers into your stores, and then once they're there, give them an experience that, like you said, that's getting them to convert?
Yeah. So I think a few things on that point. The first is that most of these online brands are looking at lifetime value of a customer. That is kind of that's a technology startup metric that, whether it's software or apparel companies, really think about what is the lifetime value of that customer. It's not really something that we talk about much in the retail landscape, but very much in kind of the startup and technology landscape. What is the lifetime value of Joe? How much is Joe going to spend over the next 10 years with Warby Parker, with Bonobos, with Blank Label? And so that actually means retention is hyper important. Related to that, the experience is really important. It cannot be transactional. You can't come in to a Blank Label store and say, oh, this seems like any other store, or Brooks Brothers, Nordstrom that I've been to. It has to be hyper different, and something that says, this is interesting enough, this was a good enough experience, or rather a great enough experience, I would want to engage in a relationship with this brand over the next 10 years and not spend just $400 on a first-time purchase, but $10,000 with us in the next 10 years. So I think lifetime value is really important, and kind of how the experience relates to that. The second is we don't have inventory in our stores. Neither does Bonobos, neither does Warby Parker. We all drop ship. And I think that's a fundamental shift that I think will only continue. And you're seeing some of the larger retailers do interesting, like pick up in order online, pick up in store, order online, return in store, stuff like that. But I think the shift of inventory is, or where inventory is placed, how much is placed in store, how much is placed in distribution centers, all of that will change. But that's a big advantage for us that when we open up a store, we don't need to put $500,000 of inventory into the back room. So I think lifetime value and a lack of inventory, and really focusing on a highly differentiated experience for us, which is one-on-one appointment based, are all tailwinds that we're able to take into the next several years.
Yeah. So you mentioned that it just can't be transactional, the experience when a customer's coming into one of your stores, which then leads me to my next question around the importance then of these of your associates, your in-store employees that are kind of engaging and interacting with your customers. Can you talk about how important that is to Blank Label and what you do about to try to ensure that you're getting the best employees in store to make that experience as optimal as possible?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that the leadership team and myself think about all the time, because you're absolutely right that if our business is going to be the future success of our business is going to be reliant of Joe purchasing with us for the next 10 years, that all comes down to the experience that our specialists are delivering each interaction they have with you. So for us, we don't have any part-time specialists. Every single client-facing person on the team is full-time, with benefits, salaried, and I'd like to believe really engaged in helping us grow the business. And so they understand kind of what the overall strategy is of the company, of everything we just kind of talked about the last 5 to 10 minutes, and are excited about executing that. And yeah, it's nice to be part of a growing business that create interesting growth opportunities internally as well.
Yeah, so that's a good segue into my next question, Fan, is kind of the growth opportunities. What is the growth strategy for Blank Label? And then second part of that is, how does Brick-and-Mortar fit into it?
Yeah, absolutely. So for us, we really believe that there is so let me back up. Custom today is about a couple of percentage points, about 1 to 2% of the overall men's clothing market. And we think there's an opportunity for that to really grow to 5, 10, 15%, which is just a really fundamental shift in the way that apparel is bought. We just believe that custom at the same price point as off the rack, which is what essentially we are, creates a really interesting switching opportunity for customers who need to wear dress clothes every day, but the majority of whom find it rather uncomfortable. So we think there's a really large market opportunity. Today, there isn't really a defining, there's no Lululemon of custom. There's no Nike of custom. And we think there's an opportunity for that to exist. And, we think we've got a good shot at being that. To be that, we absolutely believe that we will need to continue to open stores, or whether that looks like 50 stores, 100 stores, or 300 stores. I think we'll know more over the next 5 to 10 years.
Maybe a quick word about your customer. Is it in my mind, I'm thinking, late 20s to maybe mid 40 males. Is that kind of your sweet spot of customers, and more of an urban market customer? Can you talk a little bit about the customer demographic that you've kind of created?
Yeah, absolutely. So you're exactly spot on in terms of demographically. I'd say that for us, the primary reason that someone comes to Blank Label is they're wearing dress clothes 10, 12 plus hours a day, traveling in them, and they just want to be more comfortable. Whether it's the shirt coming untucked all the time, a suit wearing you rather than you wearing it, and we think that just the bodies are different. They don't fit. Not everyone's body fits into modular sizing very well. The distribution curves of how clothes are made are also way underserving the two ends of the bell curve. So if you're a tall guy, you pretty much, if you don't want to buy a button-down collar or white shirt or a standard pinpoint blue shirt, they don't really make anything else for you. Someone that is underserved by off-the-rack, either in fit or selection, that's the primary kind of driver for them coming in.
And then my final question, Fan, is what advice would you have, any thoughts on for other retailers, and particularly brands that might have started online like Blank Label, that are looking to kind of thrive in this, what I'm seeing now, this omni-channel retail environment?
Yeah, sure. So I don't know about, I'll comment specifically on apparel retailers. That's the area that I spend most of my time thinking about. And one of the things that I think is just will inevitably have to change is just where inventory is stuck. I think most retailers, the idea of not having all the SKUs available for someone to leave right then and there is a scary thought. Some might even say it's blasphemous. But I just think that the world is changing and people's preferences are changing. And if you go to a mall and you're getting a sweater, I think it's a smaller and smaller percentage that actually needs that sweater at that instant or that pair of jeans that instant. And they would be okay with getting it shipped to their house next day or 2 days later. They would still like to go into a store and talk to someone that has deep product knowledge as to what kind of cut they're looking for their jeans or what kind of wool they want to be using for their sweater for the sensitivity of their skin. And they want to try it on, look in the mirror, but they probably don't need to leave with it. And so I think that's actually one of the real burdens of having to just allocate all that inventory to all those stores that is holding retailers back.
Great. Well, I want to take this opportunity to thank Fan Bai of Blank Label for joining me today, telling us a little bit about his business and its growth. So please check out our podcast channel page, mytotalretail.com/podcasts for show notes. Total Retail Talks is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher, but make sure to subscribe on our podcast channel page as well. Thanks, and I look forward to you joining us on the next episode of Total Retail Talks.